Hello and welcome back into Tobacco Road and Abroad. My name's Gareth. Joined by Aiden. Got a lot to talk about today. A lot of playoffs in NHL, NBA, college baseball starting to wind down. We got some MMA for you as well. 350
hmm
coming up. We just figured just jump on it, start getting into NHL. So Aiden, obviously, being a North Carolina centered podcast, we'll start with the Hurricanes. I know you didn't get a chance to see the game, but I watched some recap, looked at some stats, read some breakdowns. What are some of your initial thoughts from this game one win against the Caps?
Uh, Absolute solid win. Going up to DC, I thought was going to be a very big issue. I was honestly pretty concerned, and I was thinking this is going to be a series that's definitely going to like go to seven. Originally, um, as of the past couple years, I just have not been liking Carolina's performance when it comes to going away in the playoffs, just because usually the way most Carolina like playoff series goes was like if you lose at home, the series is kind of over at that point. Granted, there are like moments like last year against the Rangers. I believe we got a couple wins in MSG, but overall, Carolina is a team that like prioritizes home ice advantage, and if they can get it, they get it, and if not, sometimes they've been like prone to fall. But just looking at this game and how I was very like looking on it in review. I was working during the entirety of the game, so it was kind of hard for me to like catch up in the moment. But I was able to watch the reruns and highlights later on to really kind of like digest the game and get it in. I really admire Carolina's fight near the end. Getting the goal in the third period in a very tough fought game. First period, no goal scored. Uh, Second period, Aleskis Protas was able to get the score for Washington. But in the end, Carolina was able to get a win in overtime, which I thought is very necessary for Carolina for the majority, like for setting the tone of this playoff run. The demons for Carolina in past years have been overtime performances, having the wind knocked out of your sails after like a grueling overtime campaign can be really hard to overcome. I think a couple years ago when they played the Florida Panthers, like they had that legendary game that I believe I was up till like 3 in the morning. Like I think it went to like five overtime periods or something like that,
Yeah,
something insane. But when Carolina lost that, like series was over. Like there's no coming back from that. I don't think Washington's going to be having a moment like that. Only one overtime period is still like there's still life in you right now, and we've seen throughout
it was
these
a quick
playoffs,
one
right?
too.
Yeah, seeing throughout the uh, all these uh, playoff games. I'm thinking the Stars and Avalanches. I've been thinking, I believe, St. Louis and Winnipeg had a few overtime rounds. There's been a lot of OTs in this playoff, and teams have been able to bounce back off of them, especially in losing in gut wrenching fashion. And I think Washington's going to be able to bounce back from that. The direction I see this series going, I'm have a more positive light for Carolina right now. I think starting this series off with a win is a very big tone setter. But when you're going up against Washington, I think there's still a lot to uh, consider because this is a very mentally tough team. And this is the type of team that is very prone to a big game too, I feel like. So I'm expecting Washington to really uh, come big in game two, and if that slides towards Carolina again, I'm putting everything on watch on game three, because game twos and game threes for Washington, I feel like they're really able to shift tones and stop momentum. So overall, very solid win for Carolina. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon saying, "Oh, Canes are going to sweep. Canes are going to sweep." But this is a very good win and a very pivotal win, especially for this series when you don't have home ice advantage. Washington being the higher seed, they're going to have, if this game goes to 7, they're going to have that last game in DC. So just proving that we can win in Washington is very big and very monumental.
Yeah, and this game for me, it was frustrating to watch because it was the Hurricanes almost had 100 shots. It was like the Hurricanes dominated every aspect of this game outside of the score, which ultimately is the most important thing. But it's, those people always talk about like those games where it's like the score doesn't tell everything. The score doesn't tell everything here. Outside of the score, the Caps kind of got their ass kicked. Like they didn't want to be there. Now, I will say that second period, that first couple minutes, the Caps, they kind of turned the narrative of that on its head. They were kind of bullying the Hurricanes, had them pinned in and thrown in. But the rest of the game, it was kind of played at like the Hurricanes' pace. And I thought it was quite funny that, there's these two teams have completely opposite approaches. Washington, they're very selective with the shots they take. They're very strategic. It's similar to basketball at the end of a game. You draw up that one play for your guy. That's Washington. Whereas the Hurricanes, they can not to, make it more of an extreme than it is, because Carolina is more of a volume team. They put a lot of shots on net, which you'd think in a sport where it's this chaotic, but you're playing on ice with a weirdly shaped, I know it's puck, but it's a weirdly shaped ball on ice that's been cut up and it's rough. Like with how unpredictable it is, I honestly like the kind of, more shots on frames. Generally, I feel like the better way to go. But that's not to say the Hurricanes can't look for that, they can't like find that golden chance. Um, the big thing for me here is the Hurricanes they stayed the course. Um, they were pushing, then finally halfway through that third period, Kotkaniemi was able to force a turnover right in front of the goal mouth. Stankoven was there to poke it home. Then finally in overtime, Jacob Slavin was able to put the puck between an absolute long shot, put the puck between the goaltender's legs. I will say I'm not when I say Carolina dominated, I'm not saying that the Capitals aren't dangerous, because the Capitals showed when Protas scored, that was how the Capitals are going to score for the most part in this series. I feel like is going to be how they scored on that. It's going to be kind of almost like a counterattack. The Canes, they're putting the puck on net, and eventually, there's going to be a ricochet where it falls to a Caps player, and they have an odd man break. That's what's going to happen. And I'm not saying they can't, have these long, drawn-out possessions that they're known to have where they pin teams in. But the best team, arguably, in the league at pinning teams in and not being pinned in is the Hurricanes. So, like Aiden said, I do think the Caps will bounce back at some point, whether that be game 2 or game 3. I'm not incredibly sure, because I thought the Caps were going to come out in full force. They've got really good home ice advantage. And then they kind of just, outside of the first 5 minutes of that second period, when Protas scored, they kind of just acted like they didn't want to be there. Don't get me wrong, that crowd was rocking. That stadium, I'm blanking on the stadium name. I should know it. Oh, Capital One Arena. I should have known that. That's where State won the fucking ACC. But twice. And they've won there twice. I should have, they have great home ice advantage. I don't get what it was. The team didn't look like it wanted to be there. I don't know if it was like they're still kind of hung over from the first series where they dominated score-wise, but I will say one thing that gave me hope about this series is the Canadians play a very similar brand of hockey to the Hurricanes. It's just the Hurricanes kind of have more, they have a bit bigger names. They have more, I don't want to say the players are more skilled. Carolina's roster is more refined. their players are it's still a young roster, but the players are slightly older and more experienced. And now I'm not saying Montreal doesn't have an absolutely exciting and skilled roster, which they do, but the, the Canadiens roster is more of a roster for the future. But what gave me hope is with the way the Canadiens played, it gave the Capitals a lot of fits, particularly that game one that went to overtime. I thought the Canadiens were going to win that game because they were all over the Capitals in overtime, but it was just one lucky bounce, and Ovechkin was there to poke home to get the win. And then from there, another really close game. It was 2-1 with not much time left, and then the Capitals scored an empty netter with 2 seconds left. Actually, in that game two against the Canadiens, Montreal led for most of the game after scoring early in the second period. Then right after that, the Canadiens absolutely destroyed the Capitals 6-3. And then from there, another game. The Canadiens led for most of the game in game three when they lost 5-2. They led 2-1 for a significant portion of the game. But then the Capitals, they scored one, and then at the end, when it was tied, the Capitals, they just threw everyone forward. They got the goal they needed, and then the final two goals were empty netters as well. So it's like it was in those crucial moments where I feel like Carolina's experience. I'm not saying Carolina's going to win in all the crucial moments against the Capitals. That's not how this series is going to go. I'm just saying with the Hurricanes' experience, I feel like that's going to help them out more, and it gives me hope that because of the way that Montreal played, gave the Capitals fits that entire series. It's just I feel like our greater, I don't want to have, like I said, I don't want to say quality because I don't want people to get the idea the Canadiens are a bad team. They're just young and inexperienced. What I'm hoping is in those moments where it's really going to come down to it, the Carolina Hurricanes experience is what's going to help them. Because it's like I said, it's been proven that this style of play gives the Caps fits. You've seen it when the Caps have played the Canadiens during the season, not even in the playoffs in the season. You've seen it when the Hurricanes have played the Caps throughout the season. It's given them fits. So, but like Aiden says, I do think they'll bounce back. I think this game's going to go to a 6 or this could easily go to a 6 or 7. My prediction of 4-2 Hurricanes looking pretty good right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to guess how tomorrow's game's going to go, I think they're going to bounce back. I think it'll be a close one. I'm back and forth. I don't know what's going to happen. If I had to pick, I'd say the Caps would probably bounce back. If I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But I still see a world where the Hurricanes can win. Just in that, what's giving me pause and giving game two to the Caps was how they came out in game one. One of the best home ice advantages in NHL, and you get absolutely just manhandled. And one other point I'd like to bring up is the 100 shots, 33 of those being on goal. Aiden and I talked about this off camera a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We both agree. At some point, don't get us wrong. Logan Thompson is one of the best goalies. I don't want to say the best, but he's one of the better goalies in the NHL. He's 7th in goals allowed per game. He's top 10 in save percentage. He's one of the best goalies in terms of having a shootout, which I know shootouts don't happen in playoffs, but he's good in pressure situations. But when you're facing 100 shots, 33 on goal, the levee's going to break at some point. Like, no matter how good you are, if you're just being peppered, they're going to go in. I'll use another analogy. I played on an indoor soccer team, and we had really good goalie where it was an indoor soccer team that had year-round and rec players, and we had a goalie who was amazing. But with the nature of indoor soccer, where there's no out of bounds, there's balls that can ricochet, and the field's smaller, and you can pretty much shoot from anywhere. Games where teams would shoot 40 times a game, he wasn't going to keep a clean sheet. The ball was going to find its way in. Him letting in 3 or 4 was not, unprecedented because of the volume of shots. So I've talked to Aiden about this. Aiden, you said, when do you think? Not that we're preying on Logan Thompson's downfall, but at some point in the series, you tend to think it's going to be a little bit later in the series when the levee breaks for them.
Yeah, I was thinking either. I mean, it all depends on how game two occurs for me
Yeah, obviously.
because my thing is I think Carolina is going to go up 2-1 eventually. It might come from Carolina winning game 2 and then Washington winning game 3, or vice versa. Washington wins game 2, Carolina comes back in game 3. Game 4, I think that's where things are going to start getting really interesting. I think this is when fatigue is going to start to set in, and I think we're going to see a lot more goals, and I think the levee's going to start to break.
And that's what I like about the way the Hurricanes play is when it goes well, it wears teams down. Like look at the way New Jersey played. Yes, New Jersey got one back, but they weren't quick to every puck. They weren't mentally sharp after just that physical beating they took. I even text Aiden during the game. Even if the Hurricanes lose game 1, I know that was big, but I'm like, with how physical they played, I'm like, and how much our style of play is giving them fits, can the Caps keep up even if they win game 1? Just with when the Hurricanes are able to play their way, and that's what was kind of frustrating about the New York series last year is they weren't really able to, like, the games are close and they fought hard, but the first 2 games Carolina really wasn't able to play their brand of hockey. The fact that the Hurricanes are able to play their brand of hockey, I'm hoping is going to help wear down the Caps. Like regardless of whether we win or drop game 2, I feel like if we continue to play physical, I feel like we're going to wear them down in the end and they're going to falter in the big moment. So, with that being said, which series do you want to go to next? I mean, all of them have started at this point.
I want to go back a little bit. Let's cover. So Winnipeg's playing Dallas. Both of these series like that got these two teams here were very interesting. Dallas won the series against Colorado Avalanche. Uh, Won the series 4-3. Winnipeg, I know you probably want to talk about this. Won against the Blues 4-3, and what was like that was a very interesting game when Winnipeg was able to pull it off against St. Louis. Because my gosh, I was watching that game. I thought St. Louis had Winnipeg dead to rights.
Yeah.
Like it was over. But Winnipeg was just able to get those 2 crucial goals in the third period, bringing it into overtime. And that's when, in second overtime, Adam Lowry just brought it all home, and Winnipeg was able to move on. But just in that game, like Winnipeg was just getting out physicaled for large portion of it. St. Louis won the face-off percentage, 55.8% to 44.2%, and like things just weren't looking good. But Winnipeg was just able to get like a lot of shots off at the end. Like when it was just all looking like St. Louis had them dead to rights, Winnipeg was able to like just really increase their shot percentage, ending the game with 47 shots total. But leading in to what was going up against Dallas, which they've already faced. I mean, just the Dallas performance against the Avalanche really had me high on them. I was obviously very high on the Avalanche, but just Dallas able to pull off that series in 7 games really kind of set the tone for me. And I think Dallas is going to be giving Winnipeg a hard time. I mean, game 1, Stars win 3-2. This was like an absolutely like not a must win game, like, but an absolute like tone setting game, because that second period things were just like going off. There was like a 3 goal run that Dallas had, all scored by Mikko uh, Rantanen, Rantanen, Rantanen,
Branson,
Rantanen,
fucking bitch.
Rantanen, scoring the hat trick in the second period. That was an absolute like masterclass performance on his part. Uh, Really kind of set the tone for the game, and Winnipeg was just playing catch up after that. I really like the Stars moving forward. They're definitely going to be like one of my favorites now, like making a possible championship run right now.
Yeah, I agree with this in this game. I think the biggest concern in this series is going to be the Winnipeg goalie Connor Hellebuck because he didn't look very convincing in the Blues series, and there were several times where I know Blues fans feel like, or not Blues, I know Winnipeg fans feel like he cost them the games times, and he quite since the Four Nations face-off, he hasn't exactly been stellar. For those who don't know, Connor Hellebuck is the U.S. goalie, usually fairly solid. And ironically enough, in the last series versus the St. Louis Blues, funny enough, the St. Louis Blues goalkeeper is the Canadian goalkeeper, Jordan Bennington, who is known for having some sketchy outings in goal. And there was a lot of big feelings about him being the starting goalie for the Four Nations, which, for once, he didn't play into the stereotypes in the Four Nations. For once, Jordan Bennington did not play into the stereotype. But in the series against the against the Jets, the Jordan Benning stereotype was full effect. Bro was struggling. So was Hellebuck. But like getting talked about Mikko Rantanen, it's a shame he couldn't have played like that for the 3 weeks he was on Carolina, being an absolute cancer about his contract. But I think we won the bet. We won the better end of the deal. I mean, hey, the player we got out of that trade with Dallas, Logan Stankoven's been absolutely phenomenal in the playoffs. So I know he's got the hat trick, but I think the Canes won that deal there with Stankoven. But
What if we see a Stars and Canes Stanley Cup?
I think Mikko Rantanen would get shot the second he enters Carolina. Aiden, I know you said you're not as like familiar with NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Mikko Rantanen, think like George Pickens level toxic.
Yeah.
George Pickens, Chase Claypool level toxic.
Ooh.
Antonio Brown without the CTE level toxic. Think of it in terms of that trade as like I saw.
I
a
mean, I
video.
remember the trade. I remember it being like a pretty big deal, but like I never like I understood he was like a pretty pivotal player, but I just never saw him on like the level of like an Aho or uh like a
He didn't
Jarvis.
live up to what we paid for.
Yeah,
He did not live.
like that's what I was saying. I had respect for him. I know he was like a very like good player. I just didn't see him on the level of like some of the other players that we have, like Jarvis, Aho, like
Stalling,
yeah, like
and he's ass. I mean, old, not ass.
yeah,
Sorry,
he's
wrong word.
old. Yeah, he's old, but like
He
I was
gets
just
it done.
yeah, I was just I just thought like I think he's like obviously like he's putting up good numbers. I respect him a lot, but like I just didn't see all the pull when he was at Carolina. And I think he found like a good team for him to like actually like show that shine, but like I don't feel like we're missing out necessarily too much because I just don't think on a team of like we have a lot of stars. I just feel like he wasn't shining necessarily with the amount that we were paying him.
Yeah. Um. Elsewhere around the league, another series that I'm really excited for is Edmonton and Vegas. Oh my God, that game one right after the Hurricanes game. That game was a movie. So first period, Vegas just jumps all over. Edmonton looks all out of sorts. I'm like, Edmonton scored, or excuse me, Vegas scored twice in like the short span of time, and I'm like, this shit's over. Like, this is ugly. But then Edmonton decides to have their eighth straight comeback win in the playoffs. It started with a kind of bouncing puck. Connor McDavid picks it up, gets it to Perry, slots it away. Then comes the third period. Not even a minute in, Josatiel is able to poke it in. But then we're tied 2-2. Coming to the end of the period, Hyman scores. And then Brown scores not even a minute and a half later. And then from there, it just kind of delved into chaos. The Knights went from, okay, we'll take this to overtime to, oh, fuck, that escalated quickly. Like, the game was like, it was clear the game was kind of going to overtime. Both teams seemed to be, kind of not like settling down, but Vegas seemed to slow down a little bit. And then that's when Edmonton pounced, able to put two past them with, like I said, Hyman and Brown. Obviously, you know, player of the game, Logan Gisato with goal and assist. Oddly enough, Connor McDavid was kind of quiet in this game. I know he technically has two assists, but one of them was a secondary assist, which means he was less involved with the play. We'll get into secondary assists in the summer when we run out of things because I think that's an undervalued stat, and I think it should be used in soccer more than it should be used in hockey. Just I will go into that. I have a whole rant about that, about secondary assists. But this game was just back and forth and up and down. Statistically, Vegas led in hits. They were, I feel like, the more physical team at times, but then Edmonton led with shots on goal at 28. It was just Edmonton winning the majority of the faceoffs. It's what we've come to expect from the West Coast hockey, like West Coast Conference for the NHL. Their series, teams lose at home all the time, which is very unlike the East. It's very free flowing hockey. It's fluid. It's almost a thing of art versus like Eastern Conference where it's kind of like a fucking boxing match. Like the
Yeah.
East is just who can beat the shit out of each other and get off the most shots. But
It's very football in that case. Like,
it's
you got
very
the
football.
you got the like West Coast, like, fluid offense, like, could go either way. I'm thinking like the Oregons and the college level, and then like the San Francisco 49ers on like at the professional level. And then on the East Coast, you got like all that smash mouth football. Like I'm thinking like, I know technically not on the East Coast, but like Iowa, you got like the New York Giants, if you're like historically speaking, it's like very smash mouth organization. It's just kind of got that like east west divide that you kind of see in football.
But no, it's West Coast always like Western Conference. It's always fun to watch an Eastern Conference game in the playoffs and the Western Conference game right after because it's like, oh my God, the ice is so much more open. And not that I'm saying it's better because I think the way the Hurricanes play, it's a way that a lot of successful soccer teams play now. Like they call it pressing in soccer and hockey, it's forechecking. It's physical. There's a lot of shots. You're just trying to get you're playing the odds. You're just trying to get the puck on net. They realize chaotic game, oddly shaped ball on ice, put ball on frame, ball likely go in net.
Yeah.
Whereas like Capitals almost play that kind of West Coast style where it's like they're looking for the best possible shot. They work the puck around. They're like plotting. Like I don't want to call it slow, but it's like plotting and you know very fluid. So the only other series that's left is the Panthers and Maple Leafs, which what's surprising me is the 2-0 lead the Maple Leafs have jumped out to. I thought with how the Panthers play, they can play that physical brand like Carolina. They're another one of those East Coast teams where they can play that kind of open and free flowing West Coast style stuff we've talked about. But Toronto, in both cases, has been kind of, you know, comfortable. I know this game was a little uncomfy when the Panthers took a lead with early in the second period with Brad Marchand. But what I will say is maybe the Leafs curse is over and done with. I don't want to jinx anything, but the Leafs look good. They're,
Yeah.
they're getting shots on frame. They're being physical. They're limiting penalty minutes, and they're taking advantage of home ice, which ultimately in the East, that's kind of what you got to do. Now, I will say this.
What?
If there's any team that going down 2-0 doesn't bother,
It's Florida.
it's Florida. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen them in Eastern Conference second round games go down 2-0 to the Bruins or 3-0 to the Bruins and then complete the reverse sweep. If I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's just
But it
weird
does
that it
happen.
does. But it does happen. It's
The
like the Doofenshmirtz
playoffs only
quote.
happen once a year, so 2 times is a lot.
Yeah, it's like the Doofenshmirtz quote. I'd have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's just weird that it's happened twice. I think it's happened twice. I'm not sure. It's hold on. Let me fact check this. I'm pretty sure 2023 NFL playoffs. Let me bracket. Where's the uh yeah, Florida did the reverse sweep in 2023. What's 2024? Where we lost in the second round, unfortunately, but it was still. Oh no, Boston 4-2'd Florida,
Ooh.
but I think they still went down 2-0. They defeated them. They were down. Oh, they never trailed in the series. Never mind. Sorry, that happened once, but that's still there's historical precedence here.
Yes.
They lost game one in a big fashion. Like if they are a team that's going to bounce back, it's that they can. So
And it's going back to Miami in game 3. So
yeah, it's anything can happen. If anything, this is like if any series on the East in if any series in the Eastern Conference is gonna be like a Western Conference series where teams lose at home and just weird shit happens. Granted, it's the only other series in the East right now, but I'm saying of the playoffs, if any series in the East was gonna have a West Coast Western Conference vibe, it's gonna be this Leafs Panthers series, just with how they are. That's my thing. I've still got the Leafs winning this now. Like I know I have the in my bracket, I have the Panthers winning this, but with how I've seen the vibes of this series going, I think the Leafs have got the series. But I don't want to speak too soon. What about you? What are you thinking here?
I'm not counting Miami. I mean Florida out. I mean,
I'm not either, but if I had to pick,
I don't know. I mean, I can very well see Toronto, the Maple Leafs, making it through this series, but I definitely think it's going to be getting a lot more interesting these next 2 games. I don't see any sweeps or gentleman sweeps occurring. I think this one's going to 7. I got the Maple Leafs.
no. When I say I have the Maple Leafs, I don't mean that I don't see a world where Florida wins. Where I think this is a toss-up series still, and I know
Hmm.
that's crazy to say with 2-0, but so yeah.
Yeah.
With that, I think that's all 4 series, right?
Yep.
Now we are on to what you say NBA.
NBA. So heading over to the NBA now, we got the tale of basically 2 leagues right now. We got the Eastern Conference, where the Indiana Pacers are leading the series against the Cleveland Cavaliers 2-0, and the New York Knicks are leading the Celtics 2-0 right now. Both of these teams getting 2 monumental wins on the road right now. And I want to first jump into the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Indiana Pacers. Garrett sent me a video this past week, and I think it really kind of encapsulated my feeling, like my now understanding and appreciation for the Indiana Pacers. Because first off, with my limited ball knowledge, like I had the Bucks and I was kind of disrespecting the Pacers like the entire time. You can go back, you can see it. Like I was not taking the Pacers seriously. I need to start taking the Pacers a little bit more seriously right now. Do they have like I think one thing that like really had me like kind of going against them is just I feel like lack of, I guess, I wouldn't say lack of star power because they definitely do have like some really solid players, but like how did you put it, Gareth, or how did the video put it? Like just like kind of lack of like an overall like kind of scheme sometimes that kind of like made me go like, okay, this team's like very hit or miss. But Indiana uses their style of play to their advantage, and they're a lot more fundamentally sound than I originally gave them credit for. And I'm starting to come to that realization now, and I think they're the team to beat in the East right now. Like, if they continue like this style of play, this level of dominance that they've shown against Milwaukee and that they've been shown so far against Cleveland, I do not want to face them if I'm either Boston or New York.
And and like you said, the reason what we thought they were a detriment is they didn't really have any stars, but at times it can be kind of beneficial where when your production can kind of come from anywhere. Your teams can't really just lock on to something. You can be unpredictable. Not that being unpredictable is a good thing necessarily. Like you want to have that go-to guy. And obviously, we're not saying these guys aren't superstars because in the NBA, all these guys, with how hard is he get in the league? Oh, they're all superstars. But I'm saying like the big names, like your go-to guy. Sometimes not having a go-to guy can be kind of like it can be kind of bad in these stressful scenarios where it's like you need a bucket. But Indiana's shown that that's not been the case, or they've been able to find ways around it. So, like I
And
said,
also
it's
being
hard.
able to like score off the bench with like Benedict Mathurin, Obi Toppin, really getting good performance. Like Miles Turner, I like that's the names that like I do recognize a lot. I just don't see him on the same level of like a Giannis or like some of these other big name players. And granted, that might just not be that might be from a lack of exposure from the league for me, because I do know a lot of people. They could just absolutely like school me when it comes to ball knowledge, when it comes to the NBA. This is a field that I'm definitely trying to learn a lot more. But I got more respect for the Pacers now, and I feel like that's something that I've needed to say on air because I have not been giving them their flowers as of late, and they have more than proven that over their past couple performances, being able to gentleman sweep the Bucks, and it looks like they're going to be like taking care of business against the Cavs.
And this is one that surprised me. This is where Aiden and I kind of thought the Cavs were one of the teams to beat. And it's like much similar to the Celtics series where it's like this, I don't want to say lower seeded team, but like this team that's perceived as lessers kind of come out and jumped on these teams on the road, if I'm not mistaken, in both cases, 2-0 on the road, which that's dangerous. That's like you've got more away games and home games left, and it's got a lot to do. So you're gonna, and I realize winning on the road, depending on where you are in the NBA, winning on the road can be easier or harder. But like, but still, you gotta win it. Like at this point, you gotta win away from home. I think you at this point, if there's a 7-game series, I think you've got to win away from home at least twice. Move
Mm-hmm.
on. You have 2 more home games, and none of them are guaranteed. If you don't win one of these next 2 on the road, you may never see a home game the rest of the season, or you won't because you'll be out. But like you're gonna have to get it done on the road in one of these next 2 games. Preferably, you don't want to go down 3-0. Preferably, you cut it to 2-1. But I'm just saying, I do not. These are less than enviable situations for both the Celtics and the Cavs. So
Yeah, and just going over to the Celtics right now, slipping 2 games against the Knicks definitely is not the best look as of right now, especially you got 2 games going to Madison Square Garden right now. That is just absolutely not a good uh, look. Um, in the first game, I feel like the star of the show for the Knicks was definitely Jalen Brunson. Brunson was just absolutely very proficient, scoring 29 points, going 5 for 9 and 3 pointers. Brunson is just able to turn it on in like any given night, and he's proven that in game one. In game two, like both of these games are like very uh, like very close, but once again, like the tale of this story for me was just Bridges being able to secure like the victory for the Knicks in the fourth quarter. Josh Hart scoring 23 points, Carl Anthony Towns scoring 21 points. Um, just overall proficiency on New York side. Celtics for Jason Tatum just did not perform as well in game two as I think the Celtics need of him. Going 1 for 5 on the 3.5 for 19 on field goal. Uh, Not the most proficient shot selection. Able to get a good amount of rebounds, especially defensive rebounds. But if the Celtics want to win, they're definitely going to need a little bit more out of Jason Tatum. But players like Jaylen Brown and Derek White had pretty solid games, scoring 20 points respectively, but just not necessarily as proficient in the 3 point. Derek White going 3 for 11. Jaylen Brown, 2 for 7. Just not necessarily the best showing for the Celtics. And these are the type of games you need to win, especially when you're at home right now. You're Boston. You should have a good home court advantage. But you're now going to Madison Square Garden in the summer. The lights are going to be on right now. And I just don't know if the Celtics are going to be able to perform and close it out, especially against a Knicks team that I feel like is a lot hungry right now. They want to beat these narratives right now that have been like uh, going towards them. Just Knicks losing in the playoffs. Like it's been a story as like old as time right now. Like it seems like everybody, like as far as I can remember, like the past 10, almost 20 years have just been lol Knicks, but I feel like they're a lot hungry. They're very hungry right now, and I'm excited to see where it goes for them.
Yeah, and one thing that I've seen a lot of Celtics point to is it's a lot of it's come down to the. They've been close games, but a lot of it's come down to the 3 point shooting. It's just you've kind of alluded to that. It's just not been there throughout these two games. The Celtics are 25 for 100 from beyond the 3 point line. They're shooting a collective 25%, and usually from that 3 point line for success. I know this is more at the college level, but for shooting success from the 3 point line, you usually want to be around that 35%, a little bit north of that 33% kind of, national average kind of broad brushstroke for everyone. Like the national average across leagues and levels is around 33. You want to be around 35, 35 and a half, be north of that. But when you're shooting 10% less than that over the course of two games, that's not looking good. I mean, they shot 43% from the floor in general tonight, that's not bad, but you want to be a little closer to 50. And then they shot 35% from the floor in the first game. That's just, if you're south of 40, it's not a good night. If you're south of 40 and you win, like you're a lucky bastard or you did some things right defensively. But I'm not here to like rag on the Celtics. They could have just had two bad shooting nights in a row. But the thing about that is in playoffs in any sport, you can't have a bad shooting or bad scoring night. Now in a series, you can have those twice, but you can't have those two games in a row to go down 2-0 at home to then go to essentially the mecca of basketball at all levels, whether it be go for a pro game or a college game there. You do not want to be going into Madison Square Garden in the middle of a slump. That crowd, whether it be St. John's or the Knicks, is going to fucking eat you alive. That crowd's going to eat you alive. I'm sorry. The atmosphere in that building, I'm not saying the Celtics are going to lose these next two games, but I'm just saying they have not set themselves up for success with the atmosphere they're going into. This is like in a class where it's like, we'll use an analogy. It's it's a class. It's a hard class. You're doing well in it, but the exams are hard. The quizzes are basically, did you show up? The homeworks, did you show up? And for whatever reason, you've decided, I've got these exams and you haven't been doing the homework and you've not been doing well in the quizzes all semester. Now, you can still get an A, but you got to fucking clutch up on the final. And by clutch up, I mean you need like 95 and above on the final. That's how precarious of a situation the Celtics are in right now. And I know you could say like, oh, well, that's a bad analogy. Well, let me tweak it a little. You need to get a 95 to pass. You need to get a 95 to pass at this point. That's the situation the Celtics are in. Like they're
I
down
had a
but not out.
homeboy. I had a homeboy that I was studying with. He needed a 90 to pass,
Did he get it?
and yeah, he did. He did.
Oh,
He clutched it up,
oh, Aiden the tutor.
bro. I was on my
That's the way I
tutor.
was moving
I
that one
was,
semester.
bro. I was in my tutor arc recently, and I feel like that's what the Celtics need to be on. Like, granted, I wasn't in his situation, but you need to take. I'm gonna. I don't know if I should say his name or not. I'm not. I'm gonna say his first name because his first name's generic. I'm not gonna say his last name. You need to get your Daniel arc right now. You need to get into the books and lock in. Get everything settled. Get locked in, and you should be right. But right now, you got to know that the odds are against you right now. That might have been from some mistakes you have made in the past. It might have been from some like poor habits you have had. But you got to lock in. And you know what? If anyone can make it, it's Boston.
It's like that run I went on that one semester. That 2.5 week one run I went on. I'm just saying.
Man, it was legendary.
To not just pass, but then get that GPA out of it too.
Bro, bro, I don't
That's how
even
the
believe
Celtics.
you. I don't even believe you. Like I know you over. I know you over. Like sometimes over exaggerate some stuff, but I like you proved it to me, man. You proved it to me.
Yeah, it's that's the way the Boston needs to be moving the next couple games. Like it needs to be some like generational like run type stuff.
Yeah.
They're gonna need to call Larry Bird's not even dead, but they're gonna need to call on the ghost of Larry Bird to help them. I'm not saying it's like Ghost of Larry Bird's like a 3-0. They're down 3-0.
Hmm.
That's my bet. Ghost of Larry Bird's like 3-0, but not a great situation. I certainly know my girlfriend's not happy.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the Western Conference. The first game that I really want to jump into is Golden State versus Minnesota Timberwolves. Game one went in favor of the Warriors, but the main storyline heading this one is just Curry's departure with a hamstring strain. I believe he's going to be out for the rest of this week, but I think the Golden State Warriors said they're going to assess it like maybe around like game four, see where he's at. It's not like a absolute season-ending injury, but it's definitely something to take note of. But I want to highlight Jimmy Butler's performance in this game. Absolutely able to kind of lead the Warriors. I feel like the Warriors were able to prove they could win without Curry. That second half, just the Golden State Warriors already had like a comfortable lead going into the second half. They just kept pace the entire game, and they made sure that like everything was running smoothly. Jimmy Butler scoring 20 points, Draymond Green 18, Buddy Hield 24 points. Just overall, very like solid performance and able to uh, like get the best out of everyone, especially without like your main leader on like serving minutes. Anthony Edwards was able to get 23 points. He had a very solid game. But if the Minnesota Timberwolves want to take down the Warriors, they're going to have to see more proficiency. Rudy Gobert only scoring 9 points. That was a not necessarily shining performance on his part. Mike Conley didn't score any points, but Naz Reid coming off the bench, 19 points. Um, just overall, I feel like Minnesota's going to need to start pulling more from like other players and not just solely rely on Anthony Edwards right now. I mean, Anthony Edwards has been proficient, but if you're going up against Golden State, I feel like Golden State's like proven that they're solid on all aspects of the offensive side of the ball, and you're going to have to find a way to catch up with that because there's no stopping them offensively, really, but you're going to have to find a way to match their power. And with players like Jimmy Butler being able to fill in for Stephen Curry and Buddy Hield being able to like shine in the moments where he's needed to shine, I see Golden State winning this series like handedly, even with or without Curry, in my mind.
Yeah, and if I feel like if the Timberwolves want a shot of winning this, they're really not that Curry's like I'm not saying he's like not good anymore, but I'm saying he still is good. He still is one of their best players, but the Timberwolves are going to need to take advantage of these games where he's gone, where they're going to need to go 2-0 throughout this portion until he comes back. Just because, not that they can't win against him, it's just with how game one went, it wasn't like it was not close at the start of the fourth quarter. I know they made it a little bit more interesting, but generally it was not very close. I think it was like 80-60 at the start of the fourth quarter. At that point, they were able to crawl their way back into it. So credit to them for making it interesting in the end. But ultimately, they're gonna have to take advantage of this. And like I said, not saying they can't win without, but if they want have hope, they want to have hope to win the series, they're gonna have to be up 2-1 that game where Curry comes back. They have to be up either 2-1 or I think they're have to be either up 2-1 or 3-1 at that point when Curry comes back. I know they said it was fourth game possibility, so at that point when he comes back, he's not the player that he's been in the past, but with a player like that, his name holds weight. It's like Ronaldo nowadays. Like, yes, no one's saying Ronaldo's the Ronaldo of 2016, but when a team gets Ronaldo, that's a big deal. It's a morale boost because it's fucking Ronaldo. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
Steph Curry's name holds weight. There's going to be an emotional aspect to it. So,
Moving
see.
on to Denver versus OKC. The series is split 1-1. Denver was able to win the first one in an absolute thriller, 121 to 119. Uh, Gordon got a game winner to seal the game for the Nuggets. But the real story of like this game for me was just Nikola Jokic 42 points this game. Absolutely went off, going 2 for 6 on 3 point, 15 for 29 in field goal percentage, and in the field goal. He was absolutely just putting it on in the paint and just playing like that. Like I've said it before, that pool basketball, where you're like the dad going up against your kids and you're just like moving around. Like that's how he moves. He moves like he's in a pool and a bunch of kids are just like crawling at him right now. But Jokic was able to score that 42 points in absolutely stellar game. Aaron Gordon able to get 22 points, and Russell Westbrook scoring 18 off the bench. This game like was like Denver at their best, and Denver at their best is the Denver that's going to be needed in this series because game two just told a completely different story. The Thunder absolutely punched Denver in the mouth, winning 149 to 106. OKC came back with a vengeance on this one, and they took it personally. Um, Nikola Jokic like only scored 17 on this one. Kind of had a little bit of a hangover after such a stellar game, but OKC just able to score from the starters to the bench. Man, it was just like everybody was just doing their thing. Shy Alexander scoring 34 points. Uh, Jalen Williams, 17 points. Isaiah Hartenstein scoring 14 points. Going into the bench, you got players like Isaiah Joe scoring 14 points. Uh, just everybody. Like, there is not a player on this team that did not score a single point. Everybody was scoring on this one. It was it was looking like a damn Make a Wish foundation game. Just how
Everybody got in on it.
everybody got their punches in on this one, and that's just, I feel like how this series is going to go. Like, we need Denver at their best every night, but OKC just needs to be OKC. If the Nuggets just aren't performing and Jokic is having a little bit of an off night, that's when we're going to be seeing like OKC's domination. So I see this series still going in favor of the Thunder, but I could see this one going in six. But honestly, Denver's going to have to produce on a nightly basis, because there are going to be times where they're producing and it's still not going to like. Game one was close. That was Denver at their best, and they just barely scraped by against OKC. So there's going to need to be a combination of Denver being at their best and OKC having a slightly off night. Those are going to be the times that Denver's really able to capitalize. If not, I see OKC taking the series handedly.
And it wasn't just that, it was also Denver can't turn the ball over 21 times a night. You can't do that and win at any level of basketball. I know the possessions are way increased in the NBA compared to college, but 21 turnovers, like that's like, and now I know they're not scoring threes off every single one of them. That's like worst case scenario. That's 63 points you're giving up. Best case scenario, like, granted, I know they don't
Zero.
score off of every one. Like, best case scenario is zero, but still, like, you're essentially trying to give them 42 free points with 21 turnovers. Like, not saying that they scored off of every single one, but that's not something you can like
Do if you're Denver.
in a series like this. Like you were saying, we're gonna need Denver at their best, and giving away free points is not what they need. And looking into it, it was bad. 34 points off of turnovers. 34.
Yeah.
Like that's almost the entire deficit. And even if you take that out, Oklahoma still wins by almost 10. So you're going to need, like you said, they need to play not even their best. They're going to need to be flawless at this. They need to basically play flawless basketball. They even
Yeah.
have any hopes of.
Alrighty, and we are back. Now we're going to jump into UFC 315 this weekend. The UFC is heading to Montreal, Canada, going to the Bell Center, and we have a pretty interesting fight card going in. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say this is going to be the card of the year, but there are definitely going to be a couple interesting fights with very interesting implications. Going into the pay-per-view card, the pay-per-view starts off with a lightweight bout between Benoit Saint Denis versus Kyle Prepolic. Uh, Kyle is going to be the hometown fighter this weekend, as he's from Canada. So I definitely know a lot of Canadians are going to be backing him on this one, but I don't think that's going to be a real decision maker in this one, because Benoit Saint Denis is just an overall very solid fighter. Has a very solid base in both striking and wrestling. Recently, he's kind of been a little bit on a slide. Lost last year against Dustin Poirier, and recently lost to Renato Moicano from Brazil. Um, I think this is going to be kind of Benoit Saint Denis's bounce back fight, though. He was for a while was considered to be like a next new lightweight potential champion, but really kind of got gate kept by Dustin Poirier. So I see him starting to build his way back up and starting to try to get his way back into a already very loaded lightweight division. Um, I see this going in Benoit's direction. So I have him winning this fight. Moving on to the next fight, we got Alexa Gracio versus Natalia Silva. This is going to be the tale of like two strikers. We got Alexa Gracio. She has a solid striking base against Natalia, who is actually starts with a Taekwondo base, which is something that I haven't seen in a little while. Just using Taekwondo as a base is something that not a lot of fighters use. Usually, they kind of use a form of kickboxing if you want to be a solid striker. But Natalia has been very proficient, and I see an absolute slugfest between these two. Alexia fights from the Orthodox, Natalia from Southpaw. This is going to be an absolute slugfest between these two fighters. I could see it going either way, but just looking at Natalia's uh, past fights, she's been on a pretty solid winning streak as of late, just getting, I believe, 4 to 5 wins. Hang on, if I want to pull up uh, the statistics, um, yeah, she's been uh, undefeated so far in her run in the UFC, getting a lot of knockouts, 2 knockouts in her UFC career, and finishing fights with a unanimous decision. Alexia has also had a very proficient UFC career, but unfortunately has been on like went on a slide against Valentina Shevchenko, who is also going to be fighting in this card. This is going to be very monumental for the women's flyweight division. Is going to see maybe who might get another shot at the title. I kind of am leaning towards Natalia on this one. I feel like with her youth and her proficient striking, I see her taking this one. And Alexa Gracio, though I do respect her a lot and has been on a pretty good run before, that trilogy against Valentina Shevchenko has kind of drawn some questions. In their second fight, it did end in a draw with her losing the third edition of that fight. So making her 1 for 1 for 1, completely even on this that trilogy. But I see Natalia taking this one and moving up the women's flyweight. Moving on, we got a bantamweight matchup against. We're seeing a legendary Jose Aldo go up against Aliman Zahibi, and this is going to be a rather interesting one in my opinion. We got Aliman, who once again is from Canada, so I definitely think there's going to be a lot of Canadians backing him on this one. The thing is, Jose Aldo, I I just don't know how I feel about him right now. I respect him a lot, absolute legend in the game, but he is like pushing it up there in age right now, and I just don't see this fight going necessarily in his favor. Especially, he's pushing the age of like 38 right now, and I know UFC kind of does this a lot. They kind of put like the legendary fighters of old going up against some like more uh, inexperienced fighters. But this one, like, Aliman is still no spring chicken. He is 37 as well, but just Jose Aldo has so much experience. And like, I'm just wondering if it's all going to catch up to him in this one. Aliman just is not, just doesn't have as many fights under his belt as Jose Aldo. So this one could honestly go either way. I just have a bad feeling about Jose Aldo. He's been on a little bit of a decline as of late, and I could very well see him losing this fight. But I don't know. You never know with the bantamweight division, especially like with these a lot of lighter fighters. Things can get pretty interesting, but I think I'm going to have to give it to Aliman on this one, just because I feel like I've been seeing the decline of Jose Aldo for a little while now. He had a great run in the 2010s, but I just feel like it's going to all start coming to a head right now. I don't see him winning this fight. But that brings us to our co-main event where we have Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Firot. Valentina Shevchenko, I like her a lot. She has a very solid Muay Thai base. Uh, Manon has a karate base, which the only other fighter I've known that has used karate proficiently at the UFC level has to be Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But in this fight, I know Valentina Shevchenko is kind of seen as the underdog, but she is retaining. She does have the belt right now, and her career at women's flyweight has just been pretty stacked to say the least. She's like been a solid contender, has a ton of experience when it comes to championship fighting. Her only real loss at the championship level has been against Amanda Nunes, which that's Amanda Nunes. Like I can't hold that up against you. And Alexa Gracio. But I just see Valentina Shevchenko continuing her dominance right now. There is kind of the concern of like, oh, the new talent coming in. Are you going to be able to keep up with like the younger fighters? I just haven't seen that slow Valentina Shevchenko down at all. I feel like she's still very proficient in striking. That Muay Thai base is like just absolutely deadly. She's been able to utilize the elbows and knees, and overall just has had a very proficient career. Scoring 8 total knockouts, 7 total submissions. She is a like finishing like merchant. She is able to finish fights early, and if she's able to stay away from the decisions, I feel like she's can win this one. The only problem is against Alexia Gracio, she has kind of drawn decisions, especially in the second fight where it came to a draw, and the third fight where she won on unanimous decision. So some people might be saying she's starting to slow down right now, and she's not having that like same uh, edge that she used to have. But I'm not going to count her out. I feel like she is prime for another win at her championship, and I got her winning this one. Which brings us to the main event of the evening. We got a welterweight title where we got Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della uh, Madinella. Madinella. Bilal Muhammad, he's the new welterweight champion. Got a win against Leon Edwards, and now he has the title in welterweight. Uh, I have mixed feelings on Bilal Muhammad. I know a lot of people say he's a boring fighter, but if you just look at it, like he's not necessarily the most boring. A lot of people say he's a decision merchant, that he wrestles a little bit too much, but if you look at his base, he's mainly a striker. He has 5 total knockouts. He only has one submission. What I like about him is he's able to utilize the striking and the grappling game both pretty efficiently. But that does kind of lead to like moments where it feels like he's stalling every now and then. But I definitely see this one going in his favor. He's been pretty dominant. For the longest time, it just looked like Dana White was kind of blackballing him because he was just on a absolute tear after that Leon Edwards no contest. But just been able to get win after win after win. He's very proficient. I feel like he's like safe house money. Like if you got a couple bucks to spare, bet it on Bilal Muhammad. He's not gonna like really uh, like make you worry because he's like a very safe, very secure fighter. And I got my money on him, and I think he can take this one. But overall, that's the my review and preview for UFC 315. Not the most stellar card, I'm not gonna lie, but I still think there's the potential for a lot of good fights, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm going to be trying to tune in if I have the opportunity, but yeah, that's just my brief overview.
Yeah, and I'm certainly interested. I know I'm not as well versed in UFC. I was probably a little bit more well versed in the last one just because I'm follow Patty, more aware of those fighters. I'm just curious to see, like, the fighters with the Taekwondo and karate base, how that plans out. With my limited knowledge, that seems kind of, I always hear now, granted, this could just be like, everyone's armchair analyst saying that like, martial arts like karate and Taekwondo really are only effective in competitions with like set, rules, the boundaries of said specific martial art. But I also realize that it's a base. Like it's a base. It's not like they're actually fighting using that solely.
Yeah, no,
I'm
like a lot of
curious
these
curious to
fighters, like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, like he's probably like he actually has like a karate dojo. And like people kind of like he's like a poster child for the UFC. Just absolute super nice guy, likes to train kids, and is just like overall like just the golden retriever of the UFC. He still has like a very proficient like grappling base and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I
Like
figured you have to.
yeah, like he doesn't just use karate. And like you see, the thing is with like a lot of these fighters that use like karate and taekwondo, a lot of people like want to say like, hey, like change what your quote unquote base is. Like it's more of like out of homage for what they did in the past.
Oh, so their base is more of like what they started with.
Yeah, it's what they started with, and
Oh, okay.
or what they like the most. Like what they like for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, you can very well make the case that his base isn't karate, but it is. You know, like your base is what you say it is, and what you started off doing. And granted, like he trains karate, that's one of the things he trains the most. But like we know he's very proficient in grappling. He throws punches, but you see kind of like flares of the karate in there, like in his ability to like release kicks and like the like kind of like dance it, like not dancing around in the ring, like in the octagon, like you're avoiding stuff, but the way he dodges stuff is very karate esque. So
Okay.
it's a very interesting like base to have because a lot of people some people just don't account for it, but it's not like I just you do karate or something like that. Like, and I don't think that's what you thought it was. It's just something that's kind of interesting because it more relates to how they throw kicks and how they throw punches. Because like a boxing punch is going to be different from a Muay Thai punch, and a Muay Thai punch is going to be different from a quote unquote karate punch. Because granted, in karate you don't punch, but in the MMA you can. So you kind of throw a punch that's karate esque.
So you do essentially like a karate hand strike with essentially a closed fist.
Yes.
or like use like karate like arm. That okay, makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I know I don't really have much to add. I was just curious, like what that meant, like how that's now that makes more sense because I'm like I'm curious to see what that looks like if I can find the time. I haven't meet this weekend, but I'm like if I can find the time, I'm like I'd like to see how that manifests. But now that makes much more sense after you explained
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's just
Shall we jump?
it's more rare to see when people say like, "Oh, my base is karate," because a lot of people just don't like karate, and everybody kind of like shits on it. So you don't want to say you are, but if you're the type of person to embrace it, like it's very interesting because you'll see flares of it, but it's never something that's like solely relied on.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you want to move on to college baseball?
Yes, I'd love to. It's exciting. It's starting to heat up. So college baseball starting to heat up. We're
Hmm.
we're into the final month before we go to arguably one of the best college postseasons in my mind. I mean, all the college sports that Aiden and I follow, we love their postseason. It's like it's some of the most exciting time of the year. But college baseball, I think, probably is some of the most unique postseason, like with the double elimination,
Hmm.
um, then 3 round series, then back to double elimination, then back to 3 round series alternating. But for right now, obviously NC State coming off of not the performance they would have wanted against Miami, but I kind of expect the hangover after we literally played perfect against Clemson. Like after we literally swept the number 2 team in the nation and it wasn't even fucking close. It's like we were bound up, you know, down. And it wasn't as bad as I thought. A lot of the losses came on errors and unearned runs. And when we clean those up, we're one of the best teams in the nation. I was listening to the D1 baseball podcast that I put on by, ironically enough, one of my commentating mentors runs part of D1 baseball. His name's Darren Vaught. Shout out to him. He's kind of, what's helped me kind of go in this direction with the podcast after commentating. But he put out an interesting statistic the other day saying when NC State does not commit an error, they are 30-1. When they do not commit a singular error, they are 30-1. And I'm like, I feel like obviously, I know this is gonna sound like, cliche and all, being 30-1 with not committing error, but I think it's gonna be critical for NC State not to commit a lot of errors down the stretch. Because if we're that good, not committing an error, that is the offense is there. The issues, the games where the offense is struggling or like, we're facing a good defense, we cannot afford to give free passes. And I know it's college baseball. Free passes are going to fucking happen. Like every team's going to give a free pass. They're still using wood or metal bats for crying out loud. Like that's just talk about juiced baseball at that point, trying to increase mistakes. The ball's coming off the bat a lot harder, being a metal bat. Like mistakes are going to happen. But obviously, State plays Carolina this weekend. But before we get into that, oh wait, Carolina didn't play this weekend. I was going to say, did you?
Carolina did not play, so yeah, there was a bye.
There was a bye. Forgot about you guys have a bye. Our bye was a lot earlier in the season. For once this year in a sport, the State Carolina game actually has stakes for once. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's great when they play for pride. Like that's still fun. Don't get me wrong. When 2 6-6 teams duke it out, and like when 2 6-6 teams duke it out every week, that's still fun. But there's actually like what there's like implications for hosting NCAA tournament games at stake here in this series. Is what's
absolutely. With UNC half a game behind State in the well, technically, I think FSU is number one in the ACC right now. But
I
like,
like a game
this
and a
is
half.
it says on D1 baseball that NC State is behind 0, but is still number 2. I don't know if that's just because y'all lost to Miami, but it says you're 0 games behind FSU. But I think that has to do with like cancellations and stuff. So for the sake of this argument, we'll say that NC State is half a game behind FSU, and UNC is a game behind FSU. This series is going to have major implications right now in ACC tournaments and just a lot on the line right now, and I'm very interested to see how it'll turn out. Game starts tonight, I believe, Thursday night, going
Thursday
into
night game.
yeah. Um, I saw that the NC State Miami series was only 2 games. Was the third game canceled because like Miami won the first two?
No, there was a fucking monsoon.
Oh,
It was like Aiden, they got like an inning in and then it started pouring. And
oh,
then instead of canceling, the two teams just sat in the dugout all day. And then
damn.
the game started at noon and they called the game at 5. It was kind of weird that they
Hmm.
waited all day. So
Hmm.
it did not happen.
Oh, well, I was just wondering, like, since Miami won too, I was wondering if that like a exam rule was in effect or something like
It
that.
depends on the school. Some schools it happens like that. I know there's been times in past years where states like won like against like a Georgia Tech, who at the time would not have been having a good season, where states won the first two, and it's like it's either been, oh well, it's late in the season, we want to save arms, or it's like, do we really need the third game?
Yeah,
But like I feel like they're trying to stay away from that, just with how strong of a conference the ACC is.
yeah,
Even though it was a series loss, a win there still can boost the RPI. So I think they still had to play, because Miami's still fighting to make the tournament. Yes, Miami's on like a 15-game win streak, and they've like beat like 3 ranked teams in a row now, or not in a row, but they've beaten like 3 ranked teams in recent memory. Like they're still fighting to make the tournament. So I think they wanted every opportunity they could to rack up wins. So,
yeah,
but no, this will be an interesting series. I know Carolina's got a really good day one starter. I'm curious to see how he performs. Just with he's been it's what's his name,
yeah. Nap.
Knapp. Yeah, I think he has one of the lowest ERAs in college baseball. The reason why I'm curious to see what he does is the previous lowest owner of the lowest ERA in baseball gave up 8 runs. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just curious to see, like, sometimes at some points of the season where you can get into a season just by fluking. And I think Clemson had an easier schedule than Carolina's had. So I think Knapp's ERA is a little more legit than Clemson's starter was.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of seeing this as a check of where our bats are.
yeah. But UNC did get a win against Campbell this past Tuesday, coming back from their bye, 10-1. It was a solid performance by UNC. Not really much to elaborate since it's a midweek game, but as you did say, I mean, like it's heating up right now. This series against NC State is going to be very big. Then after that, we have a series against Florida State with another midweek game against UNC Wilmington. And sandwiched in between those 2 games. So honestly, like these last like 7 games are going to be some pretty like high quality baseball for UNC, especially considering like I know UNC Wilmington is not having the best year right now, but historically speaking, they're a pretty solid like baseball school, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Like
They are.
they've
They're usually really solid. All the
they're
Carolina.
usually pretty solid. I mean, honestly, like this year, like 26 and 22, not the best, but definitely not the worst. Getting like some solid wins against like Georgia and uh,
They beat State last week.
no, they lost to State last week.
This week, State. Last week.
Oh yeah,
No, we decided. Avent decided not to fuck around this midweek. He
yeah.
decided he was like, we lost last week. We'll burn one of our better arms.
Burn the boats. It needed to be done.
Well, what happened this week was State. We have a starter. We had a really good starter from 2 years ago. He was hurt all of last year, and he's back now. So that was his game to kind of start. And he after giving up 3 runs in the first, which coming off an injury, who gives a shit? But then he burned the boats the rest of the game. So sorry, continue.
Yeah, but just looking at the overall landscape of college baseball right now, I mean, the ACC has their top contenders: Florida State, NC State, UNC, Georgia Tech has been making things interesting this year. They're at the top. Miami has been making it very interesting as of late. They're trying to make their push. Um, Going into other conferences, West Virginia has been looking very solid for the Big 12. They're 39-8. They haven't been a team to sneeze at, along with Arizona State and Kansas. I look for like big, looking forward to see how they perform potentially in postseason play in the Big Ten. I've been paying attention to Oregon baseball a little bit. I mean, it's been pretty interesting. They're 35-13 right now. Got a good solid competition against UCLA, who's 34-14. Two very solid programs right there, but all of them are below Iowa, who has been 21-6 in Big Ten play. Iowa has been looking very solid in conference play. Slid a little bit against Washington, but getting solid series sweeps like against Indiana, Michigan. Went 2-1 against Nebraska. Just overall, very solid. Sweeping Ohio State, granted not the best, but like just overall, a very solid team that Iowa is. Um, I'm interested to see how they do. Oregon State has been doing pretty solid as an independent as of late, 35-12. They've been making the best of out their situation uh, overall, which that's what I really like to see. Getting solid wins. They did pretty good going four. I mean, 3-1 against Hawaii. Unfortunately, got swept against Oregon. But once again, that Oregon team is very hot. Going 2-0 against a series against Gonzaga. Sweeping Cal State Fullerton. Sweeping, actually, no. Going 2-for-1 against UC Irvine, who's also been a very solid team as of late. That's going to be another one team that you're going to need to look out for in the postseason. So I got my eyes on Oregon State right now. Um, just if you want to move away from like the bigger conferences and just kind of look into the smaller conferences right now, I think one school that uh, like one conference that's not getting like a lot of love right now, like haven't been getting a lot of national attention, but I'm going to be keeping my eyes on them, is the Mountain West, definitely. New Mexico, 28-18, 15-9 in conference. That's a very solid baseball program. They've been able to get some solid wins here and there. And I'm excited to see if they can probably pull something out. But moving down to the SEC, the SEC is just absolutely like dominant top to bottom. Well, not to bottom. I mean, Missouri is
There's
0
some
and
low.
24. There's some low lows in the SEC. And I feel like that's not talked about enough. Say what you want about the ACC. I feel like the top to bottom comment can be said for the ACC. I don't know about the SEC. That's a little rough, buddy.
We
Missouri
don't have a
still
winless team.
Missouri still remains winless in conference. Got swept against Georgia this past weekend. But looking at the top of the SEC, we got Texas with a 19-5 record in the SEC. Texas is 39-8 overall. Arkansas 40-9, Georgia 39-11, LSU, Tennessee. All of these teams are Omaha potential. Like I'm going down. I think you start like having to draw a line maybe around, shoot, I don't know. I think things get a little bit sketchy after you get past Vanderbilt and then you're starting to go into Alabama territory. But even then, very solid team. SEC is just absolutely loaded this year. Going into the top 25, once again, it's just all SEC and ACC with some Big Ten sprinkled in. We got Texas, Florida State, LSU, and UNC in the top four. Oregon, Georgia, Arkansas, Auburn, Clemson, Oregon State, rounding out the top 10. We got Vanderbilt making it in at 11. And that's the thing about like the SEC rankings and stuff like that. Like, granted, like Alabama is in the top 25 at 23, but still, like, just with how positions work and everything, and like, I need to refresh myself. Can you remind me what the requirements are, kind of to make the like get a home series at?
There's a lot of factors, but the general rule, so there's 16.
Yeah,
The general rule of thumb is usually if you're in the top 16, you're fine. Currently, NC State is 16, is not projected to have one, but that projection's based off of how people think the rest of the season's going to go.
yeah,
Usually, if you get top 16, you are fine. I know RPI factors somewhat,
mm,
like that and the strength of schedule, but generally they go with the top 16 teams.
yeah,
They may do top 14 and sneak 2 mid majors in there, but it really depends. Outside of like Coastal Carolina, mid majors usually get upset. Like another one I can think of is the 1 seed Louisiana Tech in 2021. They got absolutely embarrassed by, that was NC State's miracle run year. They got absolutely embarrassed by State and then got absolutely embarrassed again in the elimination game. It was, now I'm not saying like, regional hosts. I'm not saying it's a surefire thing they win, because you can get some pretty nasty 2 seeds in local regionals. Like, don't get
absolutely.
me wrong, that South Carolina squad last year was nasty. Like I did not want to play them, but they were able to get it done twice again. Like I said, it's top 16. So top
Yeah,
16 is general with whoever ends up with the Conway regional, fucking steal, absolute steal. Just saying. I know I said Coastal Carolina, and I know they've beaten Clemson, but I'm just saying. Midweek baseball, while entertaining, does not have necessarily the same weight, because a lot of it is usually not your starters. It is your starters. They play for like 3 innings. It's usually your rehab guys. And from what I've seen, and then I'm not saying it doesn't matter, because it's still fun baseball to watch. Like, it's still college baseball. You're still watching your college. I'm just saying, whoever gets the 2 seed in that Conway regional is a lucky fuck. That's all I'll say about
yeah, yeah,
it. I will say, for both State and Carolina, I'm optimistic regardless of how the series goes. Both of them are likely going to get a double bye in the ACC tournament. So there are stakes for this, and there are stakes and there aren't. Like, I'm not saying both teams are comfortable staying in the top 4 of the ACC, but I'm saying, like, if this series is a 2-1 split, both teams stay in the top 4. So, like, and with easy, not that Florida State's easy, like, this is a rivalry series, and so they'll have like I know Florida State's good, but it's like, that's not like the rivalry series, so it'll be somewhat easier. NC State gets Stanford coming to town, so it'll be a much needed kind of break. Not saying Stanford's bad, but it'll be a much kind of needed break from going Clemson, Miami, Carolina. That's kind of a rough stretch.
yeah,
I'll be interested to see where we go with stuff bullpen wise, because NC State, they have 2 elite closers. Well, they have 3 really good pitchers. 2 of them closers. One of them's kind of, can be that odd man out for a starter. conveniently, all three of our guys that played for the USA national baseball team this summer got hurt. So not sure we'll be sending them there again. But NC State's
Yeah.
two-star relievers, Jacob Duden and Derek Smith. Derek Smith's been hurt. Actually got hurt one of the first games he played for the so he's been back. He's played a few innings. I'm curious to see if it comes down to some tight situations whether we'll go Duden or Smith. They did go to Smith at some point last Wednesday, and he looked okay. But I think for right now we'll stick with Duden just because Jacob did.
Yeah.
He struck out 4 batters using 4 batters on 10 pitches, and it was the same pitch every time. He threw 10 straight sliders and got people swinging all in. So, anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Well, that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for listening in. Hopefully, we'll have this out by tomorrow, so it's time for the State Carolina series. But we'll see. Kind of a busy time in the swim year. We're going to the long course, so I coach. Not that we have many. Sometimes from the analytics, I see we have a few randos tune in from time to time. So
yeah,
coach swims. Sometimes I get busy, so they don't get out on time, but I do my best. So thank you guys for listening.
And I'm graduating, so.
Oh, and Aiden's graduating, so it may be a busy week. So Aiden's graduating as well. So thank you guys for listening in. We appreciate it, and we see you next.